Good evening, humans. TS Moth here, and it's been a while. It's been probably too long. And I haven't really posted here in a long time, probably about 3 years. And I just figured I'd post an update as to like what is going on with me and where I've been, and kind of why Transdusk just kind of, let's say, flatlined, but it stopped for a bit. And so I'm here, and I hope you're still here. I know there's about 50 of you here for the YouTube, and I got rid of the Facebook. I guess so other things going on. All the other socials, well, no, not all the other socials, because the Instagram is gone too, because that got hacked twice, and I just got sick of dealing with it. So there's no Instagram for that anymore, or for this anymore. So it's pretty much just a Twitter and this channel. So thank you for watching if you're here with me now. And I just wanted to fill you in on kind of where I am. Hopefully this is short and sweet, but who knows, I tend to ramble. So so hello, I hope you're well. I'm here still for the most part. So I've been doing different things. Some of you who have been following along probably follow my other channel. So I have another channel here on YouTube under Transdusk Moth. And right now I'm just reviewing figures and stuff like that, and it's been kind of a thing to kind of keep myself sane and going. So if that kind of interests you, you can wander on over there. I usually post a monthly vlog as well, just kind of like checking in and doing some FaceTime with the camera. So if you're curious about that, that's the place to find it. But beyond that, directly related to Transdusk, the last performance I did was the live stream, the Transdusk Isolate, on my 39th birthday, which was July 29th, 2021. And after that was kind of, I don't know, I watched it back and I was kind of embarrassed by the performance, so it's not up here. The other one is the one for my 38th birthday, or around that time, is still up here, so you can watch that. That was a fun performance. And just kind of, things have been kind of languishing, I guess, and that's kind of where they are right now. I haven't really touched the third album since 2018 at this point, so that's pretty long amount of time. That's 2 years after Terra Ultra came out, and I have about half of that third album written, but just I hit a wall, and a lot of life changed, and it just didn't become conducive to me continuing, or at least not at that time, and I didn't know how long that was going to last, and here we are. I guess to give some further background on that, if you see me looking this way, my notes are over here next to the camera. So when I started Transdusk, I started this as just a kind of like, I can do whatever I want. It's going to be freeform. It's going to be just all my influences into one, and the ultimate expression of myself. And while that still is true on certain levels, it's not true completely, because after a while, I have a very specific vision of who I am as Transdusk. So there are certain elements that need to be present, whether it's sonically, or like visually, or or just the arc of the entire project as a whole. So that kind of became limiting, and it's not a negative thing. It just kind of is what it is. So it's not. It's not something that I regret or anything like that. It's just more like it became its own animal, and that's fine. That's actually good. The direction was something I was kind of hoping for at one point, where it does have its own momentum and stuff like that. So the truth of it is that really at that point, the parameters just became so acute that I got to a point, especially as things changed, and I just didn't have the time and energy to put it in, the attention in, that I just didn't feel it was right to do that, and or more that like I can't really deal and put the right effort into it that I want to. So that third album kind of stalled because that energy kind of dissipated in different directions. It's still there if I play the songs, kind of by myself and stuff like that. I still kind of get that energy, but it's at the moment stuck where it is, if that makes any sense. So it's not really going forward, and that's again not a, it just is what it is. I don't really look at it as a negative as much as a like, okay, well, this is clearly a crossroads, and not a crossroads that's going to like end things or anything like that, because my next point here in my notes is that, like, you know, I'm not discontinuing as Transdusk at all at any point. Really, the deal with me right now is just that I don't want to return to it. I don't want to write music as Transdusk until the time is right, and that I'm ready to pick up where I did with this third album. Like, I have artwork that'll probably change, and that's in light of something I'm going to move into next. So I had artwork. I had most of a track list. I had just a lot. I had the concept, I had the idea. I mean, it's probably the most. Pardon me, there's something on my face here. Probably the most singular direction I've had on an album yet, and that's the ideal, right? So the first album was kind of just, okay, I need to write stuff and get stuff out there. Terra Ultra was very much a broad concept and kind of like, okay, here are these songs that are all around this. This all started as a demo for half of that album started as a demo for a separate album that kind of end up more encompassing that concept that Terra Ultra was, and feeding into that. So I just absorbed it, and that's what made it what it was. And I still love that album, and I still listen to it. So I consider that a good thing, and that's what I want for any album I produce, is that it's something that I want to listen to. It's something that, you know, I'm creating the art that I wish was out there. That's the point of creating it, as far as I see it. So yeah, as of now, Transdusk is just at rest. It's I can't say hiatus, because again, it's just me, but it's, you know, it's sleeping, and it will wake up again. I have to get that third album out. Like, I think I explained this at one point in the past, and probably on Twitter or something like that. But I have to get that album out. I definitely feel compelled with that, but I also don't want to just rush it out the door. It's too important to me, and everywhere where I have it. And again, because it's such a singular vision, I have such an idea, there's a very definitive arc, I don't want to leave that behind. And undoubtedly at this point, I've crossed a threshold to where that art is going to be different than what I originally intended, just because of everything. And I'm comfortable with that, but I need to actually be comfortable with that to the point where I actually roll that into the writing itself. And I'm just not there yet. It's honestly hard for me to write music at the moment. I don't have a lot to say that I want to say, I guess. And to some out there, I'm sure that makes sense. I don't know fully if it makes sense to me, but I mean, that's what I feel. So that being what it is, it's just deciding. And, you know, occasionally I do get pangs to write, and, you know, it doesn't always work out. It hasn't worked out yet, otherwise I would release something. But I do have like ideas here and there, and then I get bits of motivation, and, you know, if that motivation catches, I don't know where to put that, especially because, again, if it doesn't fit into what I have for album number 3 out. Title is the other thing I meant to say that I actually have. It's that is set in stone as far as I'm concerned. So if it doesn't fit into that narrative, what do I do with it? And so my idea going forward, or my plan, is I'm from here on out, most of my recordings that I probably produce, unless they fit in with that third album, will be under just my name. I'm just gonna record under TS Moth. This will be freeform. This will be an actual freeform thing because it's just under my name. There's no pressure. I mean, no one beyond anyone watching this is gonna care anyway. And you know, I appreciate all of you that are here, and that I hope that sounds appealing to some of you. Just because, again, I've been in a lot of bands over the years, and there's a lot of stuff I like to do. As you know, I've done horror punk. Obviously, Transdusk is centered in industrial metal. I'm always going to be a new metal kid at heart. I have a deep love for you know, bossa nova and stuff like that. So I just want to be able to kind of explore whatever area I want, and I figure a good way to do that is just under my own name, because the name, even the name, just doesn't really have its pretense, I guess, or it doesn't to me anyway, because it is me. And again, not that Transdusk isn't me. It's weird. It's kind of like trying to split my personality, and I was obsessed with making everything kind of neat and confined into one certain thing. And as I've gotten older, 40 Earth years at this point, I've become a little more comfortable with, sometimes compartmentalizing is fine. Sometimes it's necessary, and that's what I've learned. Actually, more often than not, it's necessary for me. So that'll be what happens. Like, just the general stuff will go under my actual name, TS Moth, and then, Transdusk will be its thing. I like that it's an entity unto itself almost. It's a more calcified part of my personality, an artistic output, and that's fine. Calcified sounds negative, but I don't mean it in that regard. I mean it just as it is a very specific thing, and I want to let it be that. So as I take the rest of whatever I write, I kind of want to have more freedom and kind of not feel as like this has to fit into a live show, this has to fit into my narrative as Transdusk. I'm just going to record stuff under my name. So whenever that happens, I already have ideas for an EP and already named for an EP. So any of you who've spoken to me about artistic process, which is a very select few of you, I start with names, with everything. Song titles, album titles, concepts even. And that's often just either stuff that just occurs to me, or I'll be reading a book and I'll read a phrase or something like that, and it just clicks. And musically, that kind of comes second. It's like, or I'll write something. I'll go, okay, well, that kind of fits this name and stuff like that. So everything rolls that way. So I do have a very definitive process, and Transdusk works with that process. I think the solo stuff is going, or the solo stuff, again, it's all solo stuff. The stuff under my just straight up name is going to fall under that as well, and I have some names down already and ideas going, so I kind of want to just go with that and not really feel like I have to fit it into, again, the Transdusk narrative. So I'm starting to repeat myself at this point, I can feel it. So apologize for that, but yeah, let's look at my notes here. I do have an idea for a second project, but the caveat, the asterisk here, is that I recognize that part of the reason I can't go forward as Transdusk right now until I get there is that I have a little bit of shadow work to do. I do want to start seeing a therapist and stuff like that, and that's part of a larger plan in my life. Finally getting a job again, stuff like that, and that's all stuff I'm not going to bore you with. But in any event, the third project is something that kind of factors into that shadow work, kind of. I know I'm being super vague, and it's only because I hate putting it seems if I say stuff definitively, it won't happen. So I'm leaving it vague at the moment. And this is more of a kind of straightforward, stripped down, this is something that Transdusk has a very definitive vision. I hope I don't sound pretentious saying that either, because I'm trying, I have a very specific idea of what I want it to be. And I'm just gonna say it's gimmicky. So let's take the pretension out of it. I've gotten pretty strongly back into pro wrestling, so I view some things in that regard, and I think it's actually helped as well. So the third project is very gimmicky, though also personal, and that would be inspired by bands like Amen, Minus from Iceland, if you're familiar, Vulgar Era, Darren Gray, stuff like that. So I hope that kind of paints a picture of what I'm thinking here sonically is just something very chaotic, going back to six strings. Mixing low end is something that I'm very fond of. Mixing low end is not something I'm fond of, but it's obviously something I'm drawn to. It's something a little more visceral and low effort, I get, which hard to not make that sound negative, but the low effort is necessary to make room for the emotional aspect of it. So so I hope that wasn't too vague, pretentious, etc., whatever other words I've said in the past 3 to 5 minutes. So yeah, that's kind of where I sit right now. So again, I guess to recap, the TLDR is that I Transdusk is on the back burner. It's simmering. It's always there. It's always alive. It's just not a place I'm in right now. So it's gonna take a break until I'm ready to do that third album again. And once I get there, I'd probably go full bore. But for now, I need something less demanding, less just definitive. So that will be, again, solo stuff. I'll set up a Bandcamp when that's ready, and I'll talk about it here and on my other channel as well. And yeah, and then just be ready for that. And the other project, therapy might render it mute, so that might not happen. I literally have ideas. Like, again, I come with ideas first before I even touch music. So for that, I have like the project name, I have first EP name, I have a few song titles, I even have some lyrics. Had a couple of riffs, but nothing definitive. So that exists technically in the ether, but nothing that just is. But it's there, I guess. And who knows, some of it might roll into just the solo stuff. So again, it's all this kind of confusing mismatch. I turned the TLDR into another ramble. So so I'm gonna distill that right now. So okay, Transdusk, back burner, third project, maybe not. Solo stuff coming at some point, basically whenever it strikes. Again, so I'll say this much, I will release an EP when it's ready. I already have the EP name. It's something that ties into something personal and something from the beginning, basically my music artistic career. And so I'll hopefully come full circle with that and kind of, just have 5 to 7 songs to throw out there and, reconnect with you all through that way. And I do hope to do live shows with it because I miss playing live. So yeah, I guess that's everything I've got. So if you stuck with me through this 17 and a half minutes now, I appreciate you. I appreciate you for being here anyway. And I'm probably going to be talking into the ether. I don't know how many people are going to watch this, but it's out there now, just for my own, sake. And so that's where I'm at. That's where my music's going at the moment. And I hope that any of you will come along for the next step, because again, the number of you have been with me through various bands that were not my own creation, and I missed some of those as well. By the way, I tried to get at least one of those going again, didn't work out. Which reminds me, I need to email someone something. But yeah, that's it. So thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you again. I hope the next update isn't 3 years from now. I hope it's sooner. So basically, whenever I have stuff ready, this is probably where I'm going to start, kind of setting out the beacon, going, okay, well, something's coming from the solo, so the eponymous project. And yeah, and then we'll see you there. So I hope you're all well. And, I hope to see some of you, most of you in person, again at some point. I've seen some of you over the past probably 6 months, more to a year. And yeah, hope that continues. So, stay safe, be well, treat each other well. And hopefully next time we talk, it won't be too far from now. So take care of yourself. So good night.